Welcome to this week's episode of Beyond the Script. Today, we're going to be talking about the shift from dopamine driven creation to system driven business model. Okay. A lot of you are out there building businesses, or I'm sorry, you're not building businesses. Instead, you're feeding your dopamine loop and you're trying to call it entrepreneurship. So let's talk about it. Okay. Let's talk about it because I've been there. I've been in that exact same situation. So first of all, and I actually wrote a Substack article on this yesterday, but it's been so heavy on my mind that I was like, we need to take this deeper. We need to actually have a discussion, a hear my voice style discussion. So what is dopamine chasing? What is a dopamine business? This is how you are operating in your business without any form of rest. And as you hear me say rest, I don't want you to equate rest with lack of action because these are two very different things. Okay. But when you are dopamine chasing in your business, you're posting for validations. How many of you have made a post, said you were going to log off of social media, and then within 20 minutes, you're back on seeing what that post did? How many likes did it get? Did it get any comments? Do I have something to reply to yet? Right? If you're not doing that, then you're checking your notifications constantly. You pop over to your stand store. Did my clicks go up? Right? Do I have more views yet? Do I have more views on my video? Do I have more views in my stand store? Did I get an email? Did I get an email of a sale? Did I get a notification that a lead came through, right? You're constantly checking and seeking these things, okay? When you do this, some of you may end up consuming more than you create. Some of you are like, okay, this didn't yield any results, even though it's only been an hour. This didn't yield any results. I don't have any virality. I don't have anything going on. Let me scroll and compare to see what I'm doing wrong. Let me start consuming other people's content so that I can make mine better. But in doing so, think about this for a second. When was the last time that you went on a consumption spree and actually felt better afterwards? I can tell you from personal experience right now that anytime I'm in a state of overconsumption, my creativity goes to shit. My creativity falls right into the gutter because now my nervous system is all tweaked out. Now I'm comparing, whether it's consciously or subconsciously, there's a comparison that happens because you start to think, oh, my videos aren't that clean, my hooks aren't that good. Or better yet, you start to think, wow, my video was better than that one. How come that one is performing more? How come that one is performing better? And that could very well be an energy thing, right? And I'm gonna get into that in a little bit, but that could very well be an energetic standpoint, okay? You have to stop confusing engagement with income. This is the loop, is we confuse engagement with our sales. We're feeling busy. You start to feel busy in your business because you're constantly checking all of these things. You're not turning your brain off, but you're not getting paid. Okay, dopamine is going to give you the illusion of momentum. And the thing that I want you to remember during this episode and that you take with me or take with you through the rest of your entrepreneurial journey is your likes do not equate to leads. Views does not equal sales, and posting does not always equal business. Okay. Views does not equal sales. Let me back up on that one. I had on Threads, I think it was like 140 followers, right? It was when I was first growing my Threads account a few months ago. So I had like 140 followers. And I had a post that generated like 469,000 views, right? There were no leads that came from that. There were no sales that came from that. Okay. So views, like when you see these viral numbers and these large numbers and you see people with a large following and you assume they might be making a killing and they're making all this money and stuff. No, views does not equal sales. Followers does not always equal sales. Okay. You have to have systems. But why is it that this is so addictive to us? Why are we always like, well, posting equals, income and views is going to give me sales and likes and leads. And I'm not saying that that's not true because yes, obviously the more eyes on you in theory, if you have the right structure, then the more people who are coming into your ecosystem. But why is it so addictive for entrepreneurs? Why is the dopamine cycle so addictive? Okay. Let's break down the cycle. Post, check your post, wait again, refresh, tiny little reward because the numbers went up, and then you're going to repeat. But what this is actually doing, what social media is designed to do when it's not used intentionally, social media is designed to work the way a slot machine works. Once you start to think of it like that, you start to see it everywhere. Okay. Social media, I don't know if any, I like to gamble. I'll tell you that right now. I love to gamble. So social media works just like that. Social media gives you those quick dopamine hits, right? You watch a quick 30-second video, you're on to the next one, you're on to the next one. And it keeps your brain in a state of like, what's coming next? What's coming next? What's coming next? Right? So this is how it works by design for the consumers. Now, business owners who also consume pivot this into what I mentioned earlier, the constant notification checking. This is the same as a gambling loop. Did a post go viral and I'm a millionaire now? Did something take off and now I got more money, right? So you start to get into that same loop. Social validation, the gambling loop, right? You start to get into that same loop because the platforms are designed to keep you consuming. They're designed for, you have creators, you have consumers, but they want you on that app. So they're designed to keep you in a state of consumption. Even myself, I found myself in that same cycle. And I mentioned this in my article. Like, I consider myself to be a highly self aware person. I know I'm intuitive, right? And if I'm not careful, if I'm not cautious, I can easily get pulled right back into that same loop, right? And I like to think of it like, when somebody, I always tie things back to alcohol, but when somebody stops drinking, right? Your brain is chasing a different level of dopamine. And so when you decide, I'm going to stop doom scrolling, but you're a business owner, now your brain is chasing the dopamine through the notification check, the stand store analytics, all of this, right? And so you're looking for a different type of dopamine, right? And so like when someone quits drinking, for example, the sugar cycle starts. You start to crave desserts more. So your brain is programmed to do this, okay? But you're not going to build a regulated nervous system and a regulated income inside of a constant dopamine loop. Okay, so how do we even fix this? You're like, that sounds great, Nikki. You've called me out and read me to filth, but now how do we fix it? So you need systems over stimulation. I am not saying that you cannot do constant output. Automation allows for constant output. I'm not saying that you can't do that, especially if you can get to a point where you are constantly outputting without over consuming and actually practicing the law of detachment. And what that means is you have set days that you schedule out your content, you allow it to work the way that it's meant to work, you detach from the outcome because you can actually trust that it's hitting the right people at the right time and you can move on with your life. That's a low dopamine business model versus posting and saying you're going to detach and then running over to stand store every single like hour, right? Those are two different things. You can claim to be detached from one, but if you're not detached from the whole thing, well then you're not really practicing the law of detachment. So when we look at a business that runs on systems over stimulation, we're looking at repeatable actions, right? We're looking at automated funnels. Funnels should be doing the heavy lifting for you in the back end. Okay, if you don't know what a funnel is, funnels can be like, for example, an email funnel, right? So this looks like you have a free or low ticket offer. Somebody opts into that offer or they purchase it. They then get put into an email sequence. And that email sequence is something that you would set up one time and then let it run. And every day or 2 days or however your triggers are set up, they're getting an email from you. The point of this is so that your business is still running without you being so attached to it. You don't have to think, okay, one person opted in today and one person opted in tomorrow, or one person opted in yesterday, so I need to send the person this email today and that the yesterday's person this email. No, 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 we're not doing that. Automated funnels, okay? You want predictable outputs. My favorite places for leads is going to be Threads, Pinterest, and Substack. And you know what? Facebook is an honorable mention, but Threads, Pinterest, and Substack, because to me, those are lower dopamine platforms. I can sit down and I can schedule pins a month in advance. I take a couple hours a month. I generate all of my pins. I generate them with call to actions for my free or low ticketed offers, and I let it run. I let them schedule. I let it run. Threads, same thing. All of my short form threads, I schedule them a month in advance. And then weekly, I schedule my longer threads and I let it run. Okay. This is what automation looks like. Substack is something I'm a little bit more live on because I like to sit down and write, but there's no high dopamine going on over here on Substack. I get to sit down, I get to get my tea, and I get to write my articles at night, which is what I love to do. I look forward to that, right? Slow business model. I run my weekly masterclass on Substack that funnels into my high ticket offers. I run my articles. I try to do, at least 3 a week, sometimes more, every once in a while less. And again, that funnels either into a low ticket offer or a lead or something, right? And arguably, Substack can be your lead magnet. Okay. That's a whole other conversation though. When we look at it that way, you realize that when you're building a system, that is how a business operates. Businesses operate on systems. Businesses operate in ways that allow the business to run without you being present. If you want true CEO energy, CEOs are not always on the front line. CEOs are rarely on the front line. What am I talking about? Right? They have other things doing the work. Now, maybe you don't want the overhead to hire a whole bunch of people, but this is where automation comes in. Let automation be your employee. Let automation be your worker. That's the time that we're in right now. Let automation be your worker, okay? The other thing that the other system, that every online business needs is going to be some type of content system, okay? You're not doing random posting. You should not be waking up and thinking like, what should I post today? Because that's going to get you in that dopamine loop. You're going to wake up, you're going to be like, what should I post today? You know what? Let me scroll TikTok a little bit for some inspiration. And now you're back in that cycle. What you need instead is you need weekly themes, pillar topics, batched creation, scheduled posting, and repurposing. Once you have been doing your business for a while, you are going to see what works well and what doesn't work well. And once you see what works well, stop trying to reinvent the wheel. Just go on and repurpose that. If you see a piece of content that's doing well, save it in some type of file, a Notion file, whatever, and allow yourself to repurpose that. And from especially my women out there, when that luteal phase hits, you should be repurposing content. Okay. You can absolutely be repurposing content without chasing all this virality and dopamine and all of that. Okay. The other thing I want to say is you need a lead capture system. So let's say you went viral. Let's say that happened. Do you even have a system in the back end to handle an influx like that? Like I mentioned earlier in this episode, sometimes it's energetics. Sometimes things are not quote unquote taking off because energetically you're not ready. Let's say 500,000 people saw your post tomorrow and started opting in to your lead. Do you have a system to nurture them on the back end? Do you have the energetic capacity to be seen and perceived by that many people at one time, right? These are things that you have to start thinking about. So when we think about a lead capture system, examples are going to look like an email list, a free guide, like I said, a Substack, or even a masterclass funnel. So your piece of content should lead somewhere. So for example, a very simple funnel design, free offer to a low ticket offer, to a core offer, to a premium offer, or a masterclass to a course to coaching, or a masterclass just straight into a course or a membership, right? The reason sales feels chaotic and you're in this dopamine loop and trying to pretend to be busy is because there is no clear pathway. You haven't mapped out a pathway. You don't have a clear and you don't if you have a pathway, maybe you don't trust the pathway. But when there's no pathway, sales are going to feel chaotic. Your nervous system is going to feel chaotic. You have to be able to sit still long enough to let the process work for itself. You have to sit still long enough to let the systems do what they're supposed to do. If you move from high dopamine to low dopamine by the end of this episode, the next week is going to be challenging because you're not going to know what to do with your time. You're going to constantly be searching for something. I know because I've done this. I've done this to the point where I would not have enough data, for example, on a sales page, and I would already think that I needed to hire a sales page expert because there were no sales on it yet. And I would be like, wait a second, only 6 people saw this. That's not enough data, right? But it's the constant need to chase something else. Okay, that's what you have to get out of. The other thing I'll say is you need a CEO calendar. So we want to get out of the I'll work when I feel inspired all the time, right? And when I say CEO calendar, I mean for your core platforms. If you read my article, you know when it comes to Instagram and TikTok, those are my when I'm inspired platforms. But when it comes to Substack, Threads, and Pinterest, those are structured into my CEO calendar. So you need a content day, an admin day, and some CEO thinking time. Okay? It's not that difficult. If you have a buddy, do it with a buddy. I have a friend of mine, her and I meet up twice a month for CEO Day. And that is when we do our content batching. We do it together because it's a little less boring, if you will. And there's nothing wrong with boring. Let me be clear. There's nothing wrong with boring at all. But we like to do it together. We chat, we bounce ideas, we schedule our Pinterest together for the month. And then the other month, she's on a different platform than Threads. She does what she has to do for that platform. I'm sorry, another week, then she's on a different platform than Threads. I'm on Threads. I schedule out my threads. So if you have somebody you can meet up with twice a month like that, boom, that solves all your problems. Then just learn to go be a person after. This is how you're going to regulate your nervous system, okay? Your nervous system right now is overstimulated, addicted to scrolling, and is constantly reacting. And this bleeds into your personal life. If you are constantly reacting to what you're seeing online and things like that, that bleeds into your personal life. If you don't think so, and you are somebody who scrolls a lot, I want you to challenge yourself to become self-aware next time something or someone interrupts your scroll. Are you fine with it, or do you get a little bit agitated? I'll tell you from personal experience, I knew that it was becoming an issue and that I was dopamine seeking because whenever somebody around me in reality, the real life, needed something and I was kind of in scroll mode, quote unquote, looking for inspiration, I would get annoyed. I would get agitated. And that's not the way. I didn't get into business to do that. I didn't get into business to be constantly online. I didn't get into business to be overstimulated and to be, impatient with my children. That's not why I did that. I got into it so that I could have more free time, so that I could have something that can work while I'm actually being present and doing what I need to do as a mother. Right? So I want you to think about that too. Okay? A regulated creator is going to build regulated income. You have to allow yourself to be regulated. And in order to do that, once you put down the high dopamine and move into low dopamine, then you are going to have to allow it to be uncomfortable at first. That's just your nervous system regulating. So for those of you who are like, okay, I do want to do this, what steps can I take this week? This is what you can do. Turn off your non-essential notifications. So for me, that pretty much looks like everything but texts and calls. Okay. Check your analytics once per day max. If you are so stuck on scrolling on these apps, take the app off your phone unless you have drafts. If you have a bunch of drafts, you will lose them. Go hide the app somewhere. Okay. Batch your content. Schedule your content out. You can do this weekly. You can do this monthly. Okay. A little trick that I do, I use Metricool for my content scheduling. Metricool has an app. In the Metricool app, there is no feed. There's no social media feed. So you can record your video, and you can pop it over into Metricool, and then you just post it onto multiple platforms right then and there. And then I keep my Metricool notifications off, okay? So then you can schedule certain times to go and check the Metricool analytics. You can completely disregard the apps for a while if you want, right? That's a little trick that I have. Excuse me. So I hope that helps some of you really pivot from the high dopamine model down to a lower dopamine model. For those of you who are like, I really do want to build systems and stability, and I'm so tired of chasing algorithms and things like that. My 6-month coaching container, the Empress Authority, is open. I am accepting clients in there. You can DM me on Substack, the word Empress. We can talk to see if it's a good fit for you. And inside of there, you will take your experience, turn it into first a digital offer. We'll do that within the first 30 days. And then over the next 6 months together, we're going to work on building it into a full business ecosystem, a low dopamine business model. And of course, we're going to help with the identity to make it happen. Okay. So the last thing I want to leave you with this is it's not about needing more motivation. You don't need more motivation. You need infrastructure. Okay. You do not need another viral post or a viral post to make money. You need a business that functions without constant stimulation. Okay. You don't need to chase dopamine. Start building systems. This is how you're going to build an empire that actually pays you. That is all I got for you today. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with another entrepreneur that is in a high dopamine cycle. And let's just chill out and build some long-term businesses, okay? Let this be your legacy and your life's worth. And you're going to do that by not burning out, by chasing constant stimulation. Until next Tuesday, again, my name is Nikki, and this was this week's episode of Beyond the Script.